Så, välkomna till dagens Miltton Talks. Vi har ett intressant program framför oss och vi har både gäster i lokalen och de som följer oss live digitalt. Så vad ska vi prata om idag, Maria?
Ja, men vi tänkte väl prata lite om valet. Det är ju superspännande. Det är val i september. Alla har längtat efter det. Det har gått nästan 4 år sedan sist.
Det blir en intressant valrörelse och för partierna är det ju också först nu som de på riktigt kan vara ute och träffa människor. Det har ju varit en period som har varit väldigt svår för alla.
Så alla längtar efter politiker runt omkring i landet, är det inte så?
Jag tror det.
Dit. Sen ska vi ju prata lite säkerhetspolitik också och Finland. Vi har bjudit hit en av våra finska kollegor.
Vi kommer att ha en väldigt intressant stund tillsammans med en av våra gäster. Och precis som Maria säger, Arto Räty är en av våra kollegor på Miltton. Och han har bakgrund inom finska försvaret och har en lång erfarenhet av just samarbetet inom försvaret när det gäller Sverige och Finland och kan väldigt mycket om den finska debatten kopplat till NATO-frågan. Så det ska vi prata mer om.
Det ska bli väldigt intressant.
Jag tänker också så här då, Maria. Det är ju nu är ju valrörelsen som den ser ut. Partierna har ju ganska klart för sig sina planer om vad som ska komma. Men det kommer ju en tid efter valet och det är väl intressant för många organisationer och företag att titta på hur man då ska prata med våra då nyvalda politiker.
Ja, men precis. Det finns ju alltid ett momentum då precis efter valet när det har blivit en massa nyinvalda både i riksdagen och i olika kommunfullmäktige och regionfullmäktige runt omkring i landet att börja ta kontakt och se till att ens frågor kommer upp i deras medvetande.
Jag tänker det också. Det är ju en stor och svår mandatperiod som vi har framför oss. Den här nya säkerhetsläget rider ju förstås som kartan och vi hade ju redan med oss en massa erfarenheter från pandemin som ju partierna skulle hantera. Jag ser att väljarna rankar sjukvård och äldreomsorg väldigt högt som konsekvenser av pandemin.
Och det gör man ju alltid nästan också. Så att det är ju... Ja, men jag tror att de frågorna kommer vara på agendan, men jag tror att det här säkerhetsläget vi befinner oss i nu kommer att sätta en del andra frågor på agendan också. Ja, men dels förstås säkerhetspolitiken som sådan, men även energifrågorna till exempel. Visserligen är Sverige det land i Europa som är minst beroende, eller i EU som är minst beroende av rysk energi, men det är ju fortfarande vi är en del av ett Europeiska unionens samarbete kring energifrågor och vi kan ju göra mycket också för att hjälpa resten av EU att ställa om och bli fossilfria. Så att den frågan kommer säkerligen vara på bordet. Jag tror även inflationen och de stigande priserna på mat och energi kommer att vara heta frågor. Hur ska man agera politiskt? Ska man intervenera med olika typer av stödpaket som man har gjort nu? Skjutsa ut stora summor pengar till hushåll som använder mycket el eller kör mycket bil eller så vidare. Om det är det som är lösningen eller om man kanske kan få lite mer långsiktig syn på de här frågorna. Hur man ska bli mindre beroende och mera resilient och motståndskraftig mot den här typen av prisfluktuationer.
Man kan ju se den här diskussionen som är inne i och som du säger säkerhetsläget, det kommer ju också att påverka väldigt mycket företagen. Vi ser att politiken man ska säga, reser förväntningarna på företagen att vara med i att bygga den här uthålligheten. Man pratar ju om livsmedelslager, man pratar om olika typer av beredskapslager där man är beroende av företagen. Och det är förstås det är en helt ny karta och som ju kommer att kräva väldigt mycket dialog mellan politik, myndigheter och företag.
Ja men verkligen och det är väl så också med hela den här energiomställningen som vi ska göra är ju också så sådan att den kräver en jättenära samverkan mellan politik, forskning, näringsliv för att man ska hitta de bästa lösningarna, de smartaste sätten att ta sig fram på. Det är ju ingenting man kan sitta och bestämma fram i vare sig riksdagen eller kommunfullmäktige om det inte finns lösningar på bordet som man kan jobba med. Så att jag tror också att det sker så snabb utveckling på många av de här områdena så att det är svårt som politiker att hänga med om man inte har en nära dialog med representanter för företag som ligger i framkant.
Det där tror jag är en väldigt viktig poäng. Vi ser ju att det är väldigt mycket av man säger klimatomställningen, vad vi ska förenklat kalla det, som ju drivs av näringslivet i stora delar. Det är klart att de här industriprojekten vi ser i norra Sverige, de är ju de mest spektakulära och som ofta skrivs mycket, men det pågår ju ett arbete i alla branscher med
så är det ju. Och jag menar, initiativen kommer ju ofta från näringslivet, men när det är osäkra marknader så behöver man ju ofta någon form av politisk support också för att det här ska kunna bli verklighet. Så är det ju med vissa av projekten i norra delarna av landet, och så är det med många andra saker också. Så det blir någon slags växeldragning som i sådana här cykellopp. Först drar en, sen drar den andra, och så får man liksom se till att det går någorlunda i sån takt att man vinner i slutändan, tänker jag.
Maria är också våran chef för Milttons verksamhet i Bryssel. Så jag vet ju att du tillbringar mycket tid med att följa frågor som rör sig på Europanivå. Vad skulle du säga är de viktiga sakerna där vi ser tydliga samband mellan Sverige, Finland och EU-nivån?
Ja, men det är ju jättemånga frågor som är relevanta, och ärligt talat, det nordiska näringslivet är inte superbra vare sig på att påverka det som händer i EU eller hålla koll på det som händer i EU. Det är väldigt ofta förslagen kommer upp i debatt här när de redan är beslutade. Och då skulle man ju engagerat sig för 2-3 år sedan. Så nu är det ju massor med frågor som är på bordet som rör hela klimatomställningen. Förlåt att jag kommer tillbaka till den hela tiden, men den är dels top of my mind, men det är också så att den är faktiskt en väldigt het fråga. Det ligger en stor mängd förslag på bordet som kommer att rita om kartan när det gäller allting som har att göra med klimatet under det närmaste decenniet. Och de ligger på bordet nu, och vill man ha någonting sagt om dem så är det nu man måste engagera sig. Sen har man ju också den här diskussionen om man kallar dem strategisk autonomi, som handlar just om det här med Europas beroende av omvärlden när det gäller råvaruförsörjningen till våran industri. Det är ju en jättehet fråga. Den blev het under pandemin när de globala handelsflödena blev störda. Den har blivit het igen på grund av Rysslands invasion av Ukraina. Och man har väl insett lite att man kan inte alltid lita på att man kan få allting precis när man behöver det. Och får man inte det så blir det stora störningar i hela det europeiska industrisamhället. Så att då jobbar man med hur man ska kunna bli mindre beroende av omvärlden för de mest strategiska resurserna. Så de frågorna är på bordet. Sen har vi hela avfallslagstiftningen som ska göras om ett par år. Det är superspännande. Mycket roligare än vad ni tror faktiskt. Avfall. Wow.
Det kan jag tänka mig. Det finns ju också en massa frågor som nu har blivit aktuella utifrån säkerhetsläget. Jag tänker på livsmedelsförsörjningen. Vad hör du där? För där finns det ju många som pratar om att Ukraina har varit som väsentlig del av den europeiska livsmedelsförsörjningen, och när de nu inte är en del av den så utmanar det Europa. Hur går debatten där?
Ja, men de har gjort en sån här, de kallar det för en food communication, där kommissionen pekar ut lite grann hur man ser på den här frågan med matförsörjningen och säger så här: det är väl ingen akut risk för Europa eller för EU att vi skulle bli utan mat inom det närmaste året. Men däremot så om man tittar i ett globalt perspektiv så är det ju desto större problem. Och vi är ju också en del av världen, så man kan inte bortse från att om det blir väldiga problem med livsmedelsförsörjningen i norra Afrika så är det klart det påverkar Europa. Och vi behöver ju vara förberedda på hur vi kan i så fall agera för att minska de problemen. Men sen jobbar man ju mycket med det här med europeisk matförsörjning också. Just nu känns det som det mest att det är olika lantbruksorganisationer som tycker man ska få mera bidrag för att kunna producera mer. Så det kommer man säkert att lägga en del pengar på. Men man måste ju också titta kanske lite mer strategiskt och långsiktigt på de här frågorna också.
Det som ju för många har man ju ibland funderat på kraften i EU. Vi har ju sett att det har varit väldigt jobbigt periodvis, finanskrisen och allt som följde med det, kopplat till Grekland, och väldigt många jobbiga frågor som man har haft att hantera, och det har funnits en hel del slitningar med länder som Ungern och Polen och andra under de senaste åren. Men plötsligt nu när det blev en verklig kris, då har vi ju sett att att Europa har hållit ihop och det har fungerat. Hur har det påverkat andra diskussioner i de forum där du har varit med på Europanivå? Bryssel.
Men jag tycker att EU har blivit starkare under pandemin också. Först i början var det lite vacklande. Sen så bestämde sig den här kommissionen för att de kanske ändå har mandat att å EU-medborgarnas vägnar ta lite initiativ. Så det gjorde man ju. Ni har inte märkt det så mycket i Sverige, det här med covid-passen till exempel. Men för mig som bor i Bryssel så har det ju varit otroligt bra att man har tagit fram ett enhetligt sånt som funkar i alla EU-länder. Också de här stödpaketen man tog fram har ju varit oerhört betydelsefulla för många länder som har drabbats hårt. Så där visade man ju en viss enighet. Nu har man ju visat ännu större enighet i bemötandet av den här krisen. Jag tycker det som är intressant just nu, det är ju också att den här tidigare väldigt tydliga konflikten mellan öst och väst som har funnits kvar i EU under lång tid. Där man, i klimatpolitiken till exempel så har det varit länderna på den västra sidan som har liksom dragit och sen så är det de östeuropeiska länderna som har varit mer skeptiska och så. Det ser inte riktigt ut så i bemötandet av det här kriget i Ukraina. Utan det är väldigt många av de länderna som tillhör det som vi då tidigare har tänkt på östsidan som är de som drar mest och som är mest progressiva och vill agera kraftigast. Den enda som fortfarande står kvar på den där punkten där de alltid står i Ungern då. Men jag tror att det är väldigt hälsosamt för EU att den här konflikten mellan öst och väst har liksom luckrats upp lite. Det ser inte likadan ut och man får lite nyanser i det hela. Det tror jag är nyttigt.
Kan det bli en omstart på det sättet? Ja, men det är ju en ganska lämplig övergång för oss att bjuda in Arto då till samtalet när vi nu är inne på Europa och samverkan säkerhetspolitiskt.
Yes.
Så att vi kan väl se.
Och så vi byta språk också.
Vi byter språk. Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So, Arto, a short introduction about yourself. You have a long impressive background in the Finnish army, and you have also then moved on to private business the last years. But please, in your own words, who are you?
Who am I? Ex-military, 5 years in the Ministry of Defense as a permanent secretary, and then 6 years in Fortum Corporation, and now in Miltton. I would say a junior senior advisor at the moment.
Yeah.
That was an extremely Finnish introduction, super short and very much to the point.
I'll try to be.
Well, welcome. We are, of course, very much interested in what's happening in Finland. I mean, we have seen the last months a focus on the collaboration between our two countries. I think for all of us, it has been obvious that we are much stronger connected to each other than we might have understood before. So
with we, he means Sweden. Finland understood it, of course, much earlier.
I think that would be very interesting from your perspective, to explain how has the Finnish discussion changed after Russia's when they started the war, and where do you think the debate is heading now? Now we're in the final days of seeing more public statements from the representatives of presidency and government in Finland.
Yes, if you allow me, if I can say a couple of words about the process where we are at the moment, and also talk about Russia, the reactions of Russia, and then why are we moving so fast? That is usually the question asked. Yesterday, the Parliament's Defence and Policy Committee came out with their statement that they clearly said that they are pro-NATO membership. That's the first clear statement from the Parliament committees, and that was there were only a couple of voices against. It was almost 100%, not 100%, but almost 100% agreed in the committee. So that gives a very good understanding what the Parliament today is thinking. Tomorrow our President will come out with the press conference, and I think that will be also a similar kind of message. That's my assumption. And next weekend there will be Social Democratic Party meeting, and as also in Sweden, and I think that will be the same statement coming from there. And if I understood correctly, there will be a a meeting between the president and the government's foreign and security policy committee during next weekend, probably on Sunday. They never publish those meetings because they are classified meetings. So, and after that, I think Finland is ready to go forward early next week. There's a NATO council meeting on the 27th of this month, and then at the end of June there will be a NATO summit in Madrid. And of course, one question is always the US midterm elections in November this year also. That has an effect. So this is where we are at the moment in the process. Then I take a couple issues about Russia, because people always ask me, what is Russia going to do if we move forward? There's no outspoken declaration by Russians to hurt Finland if we join NATO. There are discussions, there are statements, but not really a clear intention to hurt. I personally don't believe that Russia is willing to start a second special operation against a nation with a similar size of military capability like Ukraine, but much more modern. And thirdly, I have not seen or heard any military deployment behind our borders. The other way around. In the Cold War time, we had about 100,000 to 150,000 troops behind the border. When the Cold War ended, the numbers were something like 40,000. And now it's much less because most of the forces have been deployed to Ukraine, and badly, I would say they have a lot of casualties in these forces. So there's only one unit behind the border in Alakurtti at the moment, which has some kind of capability inside the unit. Is Russia going to make a military aggression against Finland if Finland decides to join NATO? I don't believe. Is Russia going to cut the gas pipeline between Finland and Russia? I don't believe, but it's possible. Is Russia going to attack Finnish infrastructure by cyber attack with the heavy attacks against, let's say, electricity or water supply or something like that? I don't believe, if things don't get out of hands. Are they going to have some kind of information operation against Finland? Yes, I believe so. Are they going to use this kind of demonstration attacks by cyber domain? Yes, possibly. Are they going to deploy forces behind the border? Maybe one day, but they may have some exercises which demonstrate their feelings about our NATO membership. So I don't see that there's a major issues coming behind the border at the moment. But we have to understand, I was totally wrong about the attack in Ukraine.
So but I mean, isn't the question also, if you would not join NATO, what would Russia do in that case? Yeah. Is there a real threat or not?
Maybe not at the moment. But the feeling in Finland, among our analysts and politicians and the public, is that Russia has made such an aggression in Ukraine that there's nothing there we can trust on. Things may happen. So there's no difference between NATO membership or non-membership in this issue. The risk is always there. But if you are members of NATO, the possibility for military aggression is much lower. If I go then to the support, I think the US support has been very clear at the moment for the membership, and there are some different voices in the US also, like Anne-Marie Slaughter, who is heading the New America think tank. She clearly said that if Sweden and Finland will join NATO, that will deepen the divide between Russia and its neighbors. But at the same time, when you listen to Antony Blinken, the State Secretary, it's very clear the support. And then the second supporter for us is, at the moment, very clearly, is UK. And we see that their Prime Minister is visiting our countries today, and I think that the main reason is to make sure to our leaders that they are behind us. Then the major question, why is Finland moving so fast? That always asks the question. Is this fast? We started NATO debate in 1995.
Exactly.
We have been discussing about NATO since that heavily. During the first, let's say, 30 years, being a pro-NATO guy was something really bad. But there were a lot of voices saying that we should join NATO. There were opinion polls annually made about NATO membership, and there has been a debate ongoing. There have been studies, hundreds of studies made of NATO membership. So there has been a continuous NATO debate in Finland for 30 years now. So this is not a new topic for us. And there has been some kind of expectation among the public that the leaders in the political leadership, especially the president and the government, the political parties, they have this kind of thinking in their mind that one day we will do it, but they don't express it. There were votes saying that, opinion polls saying that, hey, would you like to join NATO? There were 25% say yes. If the president says yes, then more than 50% said yes. So they were waiting for the leadership to give their opinion. And this is very typical for Finland, which is usually a very pragmatic, obeying nation, knowing her history pretty well. And we have 1,343 kilometers borderline between us and Russia. That makes us different in many ways. And I think we have good understanding also about Russia. We used to have, not anymore. We don't understand what they do today.
Now, but I spent a lot of time in Finland. I lived there for 10 years, and my experience is exactly the same as yours. That people in Finland, they sort of wanted to join the NATO for quite a long time. They have just been hesitant if it was the right moment or not. And I was in Swedish politics. I was a member of the parliament for 10 years and a party leader, and we never talked about NATO. I never had any questions about NATO during the political debate before the election and so on. But as soon as I came across the border to Finland, the first thing people asked me about was, what about Sweden and NATO? What is your Swedish attitude towards NATO? And it's non-existent because we don't talk about it. But in Finland, you discussed it all the time. So I think that you are ready in a way that Sweden definitely is not. And still you expect us to move as fast as you.
We hope you do also. We hope that you move.
And we might do, but we won't be as prepared as you are, sort of mentally.
But I think there's also a major difference. We have a conscription in Finland, which means that every family has a connection to military, as you used to have in Sweden. It means that the defense is part of everyone in Finland. It's part of the society.
You know, it's only for boys.
It's not only for boys, because the wives and girlfriends, they had to suffer also.
Okay.
So it's in a way.
Yeah, we have conscription in Sweden too. It's for both boys and girls. So.
But your conscription is the same thing like ours at the moment. And you went to the almost all voluntary force, which in a way means that for the public and for the politicians, the armed forces is something as a toolbox, somewhere aside. We can use it as we want, but it doesn't matter. It's not part of me. It's part of some kind of a machine we have. I got the same feeling when you had some casualties in Afghanistan. There was no big debate in Sweden on that one, because it's not us, it's those who are in the armed forces. So that makes a difference also. And but when it comes to Swedish-Finnish cooperation, which you asked about, I was in the beginning in 2009 when we started the cooperation. We had the first meetings in a hotel, and we put our mobile phones into the fridge that we wanted to be secure when we talk about this issue. And step by step, we have increased the cooperation in a very, I would say, pragmatic way. We have been pushing somewhat. Sometimes Sweden has been more active, which has been surprising for us in a way. And now we are on a good level. NATO membership does not take this bilateral cooperation away. There's a need for that, even deeper need for that than in the past. Same goes with Norway. And I think if we come back to the Finnish discussion today, when the president comes out, yesterday it was 76% supporting NATO membership. 2/3 of the parliament is clearly achieved when the Social Democrats and the Centre Party are expressing their opinions. So we don't know if the parliament has to vote with 2/3 majority or a single majority. I don't know that yet. It doesn't matter, because the 2/3 is found there at the moment. So it's clear. So now there's a lot of expectation in Finland, and also some kind of a small fear, what are the Russian reactions? But I think the total defense concept which we have executed from 1960s is a good answer for this kind of threat spectrum we have. So don't ask me about Sweden because I don't know how Sweden is behaving, but we are different. We are having, our solution is clearly a pragmatic security solution for us. For Sweden, I think it's something else. Not only a solution for your security, it's also some kind of value-based issue in Sweden. But for us, it's a very clear and pragmatic issue, and understandably, because of the fact that we live there. I'm born on the eastern borderline myself.
What's your experience of the Swedish-Finnish collaboration when it comes to defense? As you say, you started there over 10 years ago, and how it has evolved.
Absolutely fantastic. I think we are now moving on to the level, which is the next level is having some kind of joint capabilities. And we have 2 areas where we can cooperate deeply, and that's naval operations, where we actually are sailing together already, and I foresee some kind of flotilla in the Baltic Sea, which is combined by 2 countries. Air Force is doing good cooperation. I know that what you will say next, we didn't buy Swedish airplanes, but it doesn't matter in this case. The cooperation is already existing, and we have American planes today already, so it doesn't make any difference. Intelligence, command and control, especially logistics, and then army, special forces, maybe not in the major forces because Sweden does not have at the moment that large army like we have. I don't mention we discussed earlier about the amount of generals and artillery pieces, but let's not take this issue on the table now. There's a difference between our countries in that sense. So I think there's a lot of areas where we can go even deeper. And then, of course, the defense industry case, because there's a competition existing, but also good collaboration at the moment.
One number that struck me was that your Swedish-speaking newspaper in Helsinki they published a poll among Swedes and the willingness of defending Finland. And you had astonishing number that 6 out of 10 Swedes said that they were ready to go to arms to defend Finland. That is something I was surprised of, but maybe it is so that we haven't understood fully how deep our roots are. But when a crisis arrives, then everybody realizes that we are so strongly connected. Could it be like that?
I agree with you, and I must say I was really astonished when I saw the numbers. I was surprised. I never thought this could be the case. I thought it's maybe something like 30-40% maximum. That was a really good number. And I think there's one major reason behind that one. If you look at the world around today, I have never been so happy about the Nordic democratic structures and societies as I am today. Even though I sometimes disagree with our political leadership, with some economical decisions or something else, but that is a minor thing compared to a situation that we have a beautiful democracy in our countries and we share the same values. I know that Finland and Sweden are different countries in many ways, but societies, how we function, they're very similar, and that gives this kind of feeling that we belong to the same family. And I hope that if the NATO membership goes so that we go there together, then we have Norway, Finland, Sweden, and Denmark, which is Denmark more like a Central European country, but the 3 Nordics together. That will even deepen this kind of feeling of Nordic values.
In Sweden, we usually just ignore our neighbors. Let's be honest. We don't talk a lot usually about our neighbor countries. And I think one of the most interesting things about this crisis is that we actually talk a lot about Finland. And I like that because I'm usually quite annoyed that we in Sweden just think that we are the center of the world and we don't need anyone around us. Well, actually the case is, especially in the crisis situations, that's when you need your neighbors. And in your case, you have one neighbor on the other side, which you can't really trust. And I think that's all the more the reason for us to cooperate between Sweden and Finland. And I'm not super happy about the NATO debate. Actually, I'm not super happy about the idea of Swedish membership in NATO. But what would you say? What would be the case if Finland joined NATO and Sweden didn't? How would that affect our relationship?
I think we still have the good cooperation. We have a cooperation in politics, in economy, and in defense. That will not disappear. But of course, it will somewhat make it more complicated to organize the Nordic area's defense. And if Finland, Norway, and Sweden and Denmark in this respect are all in NATO, this is a very strong, I would say, fortress in the NATO's northeast corner. And that will make us very strong in military defense. Because I don't believe this is the case. I believe that Sweden is going to move forward also.
I believe so too.
I think Sweden is going to surprise Sweden by the rapid deployment, the rapid change in the opinions of NATO membership.
We can see the timetable now for the coming week. A week from now, we have a ground delegation from Finland coming over with the president, and with him follows other politicians and also representatives from the business community. And as far as we can see it with the timetable in both our countries, it is much likely that state visit will be a ground manifestation of the collaboration between the countries, and also then probably that they will also announce that both countries are now moving on to apply for membership. If I can see the timetable that you explained in Finland, you have, is it tomorrow the president will announce?
Yes.
And then you have the parliament committee and the Social Democratic Party will go out in Finland before or during the weekend. And in Sweden you have the parliamentary committee and the collaboration on Friday. They will make probably their announcement there. And then you have the Social Dems take the decision on Sunday. And then, if this timetable is then what we can see from the outside, what do you think will be then the case when the Finnish delegation arrives to Stockholm a week from now?
It's now guessing area where we are. I don't know the details of the political master's mind at the moment, what they think about the timetable. I believe that so-called application will be already moving out before that visit. And I think that's my thinking at the moment, but you never know.
No.
And now we talk about days and weeks, so it doesn't that much matter. Are we going there on Monday, Friday, or in 1 month? I think the most important thing that is for me is that Finland and Sweden goes there together, because it's a very strong signal to the world, to the Russians, and to NATO. And it will be much easier for both countries if we go together. And Sweden usually never is a country which wants to be left behind.
Well, I think
everyone should follow us.
It's I think, as Maria is also in your discussion, I think this situation with Finland has a huge effect in that sense, that we realize that we need to kind of find a tempo that is in sync with the Finnish. So I think that's where we are now. So how is it with our guests? Do you have any questions for us in the panel, and to Arto especially?
The first question, intelligence, the answer of course is no, I don't know. It's classified and I have no access to intelligence anymore myself, except my friends in the area. I personally don't believe that there's any kind of secret plan existing in Russia for attacking Finland, which we know about, that makes us to be in a hurry. I don't think that we are in a hurry. I think we are just following the path we have taken a long time ago, and now when Russia attacked Ukraine, it destroyed all the crystal balls we used to have, and it's destroyed all the expectations of good neighborly relations and possibilities to discuss in a normal way with the leadership in Russia. So it actually got everything off. So that in a way broke the camel's back in a way that it was very easy for us to go forward. So I don't believe that there, but of course, I don't know exactly. Sorry, what was the second one?
Russia.
In Russia, what my focus would be, of course, my focus at the moment would be very much following the what happens with the Russian leadership. Who is going to be next? And if you look at the Russian leadership in meetings today, Putin at the other on the table, and far there, the others, similar-looking, older, grey guys who have all coming back from the security organization, like Shoigu being a minister almost 30 years in different ministries, Patrushev being the ex-FSB director, now the Secretary of the Security Council of Russia, which is an extremely important position. Gerasimov, who we don't know if he has survived from the bombardment in Ukraine or not, or he's just pushed aside, we don't know that. But there are similar people there behind. So if Putin is as many at the moment are guessing, sick and will have to step down or is going to be forced to step down, who is going to be the next leader in Russia? That's a major question at the moment. And unfortunately, I personally don't see any kind of a positive picture in the future of this kind of color revolution in Russia where a new leader comes from the democratic election through democratic elections. There has never been such elections in Russia. So it's really extremely important to no, we can't affect that one. It will happen inside Russia, but we need to understand that what's going to be the next step. And those who are coming if they come from the security sectors, I expect next one will be. Unfortunately, they have so much to lose in any kind of democratic situation that they don't want to change. They want to keep it as it is. So,
I mean, they don't have the foundations for democracy. They don't have a free press. They don't have the rule of law, objective court cases or anything like that. So they don't really have the foundation yet for democracy.
That's a major problem.
Yeah, but I would like to hear your thoughts on where will this end and where will we be if this war ends?
I said my crystal ball was destroyed when Russia attacked, so I don't have the ball at the moment. At the moment, if you look at the situation, military situation in Ukraine, it seems that the Ukrainians are able to hold their positions. Maybe on the coastline of Black Sea, I don't know what happens there. They may be also to make some counterattacks. And Russia is not able to put more pressure at the moment. So it seems that it's in a way stopping somewhere close to the borderlines of 2014. It's really difficult for Russia to give up now. Pulling back will be saying that we were wrong, we didn't succeed, so they have to do something. They have to push forward. They have to gain something.
They have to pretend that they want something.
And my question about Putin also is about Finland and Sweden. If we join NATO, is he going to act or is he just going to pretend that nothing has happened? We don't know. But it's going to be a long, I would say it's going to be a long crisis with the unfortunately long fighting period, a lot of casualties to come, and the iron curtain between the West and the East in this case will be extremely strong and long-lasting. I don't see the sanctions to go away until the leadership has been changed totally. And as I said, I don't see this change coming. So this is going to be a long-lasting issue.
But another interesting issue is how it will affect the world also afterwards. But,
No,
sorry. We take the question from the floor.
Well, it's actually,
Yeah.
yeah. Frida, Microsoft Government Affairs Director. No, it's actually along the lines as you were saying, Maria. Will the economic incentives, like the sanctions we've put in place so far, will that have effect, that we will just get a further polarized situation with Russia moving closer to China, and then is there turning back? What would you say in terms of our geopolitical standing between if Russia and China are even closer to one another, and we have certainly Western European or democratic countries that are sort of in a minority if you're looking at the geopolitical perspectives globally. So what would be the if there is no silver bullet, obviously, but what could be the silver bullet to moving the trends towards less polarization in the world? Small question.
Small question. How much time we have? No, it's. I personally believe that first of all there will be a divided world coming in, and it's already there. I also believe that China is a key element here, as you mentioned. China's decision what they do next will very much dictate where we move next. So we should not only focus our eyes on what happens in Ukraine. We should not take the helicopter view, but the space rocket view at the moment, to have this big picture in our mind all the time. China is now standing in between their clothes, in a way. She is not making a clear decision one way or another. I think he now regrets his good relations with Putin, because if you look at the Excel file of China exports, Russia is not existing there. It's only less than 2%. It's less than Texas in US. So it's not really a major issue for them. But at the same time, let's not underestimate the Chinese feelings about US and this kind of discussion they had in between. Brookings Institute's president said that they don't expect China to be pragmatic in this. They expect China to be acting with feelings also. I don't know what happens, but I strongly believe myself that China is now focusing on one issue, and that is COVID-19. They will try to stay in a zero tolerance area, which makes them isolated. They will still keep contact with Russia because they get some energy from there, but they fully understand that their future is not with Russia, it is with someone else, or not with someone else, or maybe China as a China, and then having good collaboration with the West. They need the markets at the moment. In the future they don't, because they have their domestic market and the Asian markets in their hands in the future, which is a huge market area also in the future. But they can't do development and product development by themselves. They need the West for that. So I believe China is carefully considering their next steps at the moment. Hopefully they will lean more to the West than to the East. But they will not shake hands with you and say, we are your friends now, we are not friends with Russia. That will not happen, I don't think so. But they will not say the other way either. They will not say, dear Russia, we are your best friends and we support your war in Ukraine. I don't think so. Because they also see that Russia is losing. The sanctions in Russia, you mentioned about the sanctions, how that affects in Russia, I would say it doesn't matter for the leadership. They have their money, they have their fortunes around the world, they have put their money in a way to different areas in the world. It doesn't matter if they lose their luxury yachts in the harbors of Italy or somewhere else. They have money enough. They don't care about the public. They don't care about the casualties in Ukraine. And that also hurts, in a way, China. And China has a second question. I'm pretty confident that there was some kind of at least thinking and planning for Taiwan when the war started. And when they realized that what happened in the world, it was a surprise for me, and I think surprise for everyone, how rapidly US EU and UK came together. And then China was also taken by surprise. And they realized that, hey, maybe it's not the moment to move forward in that area because that may cause similar kind of sanctions on us. And that will be a permanent solution, not permanent for decade solution for us. And China is very careful. A long answer for your question. I don't think I covered everything, but China is a major issue at the moment to observe.
I think this is interesting. Probably we should arrange another seminar on those topics. You have also with that question you raised, Frida, about India, and you have seen the movement from Europe towards India that has been also quite impressive. You have had delegations from the European Commission going down to India, and you've had visits on the other hand from India to Europe and so on, and our countries have met them. So I think that this crisis that the war has created also opens up for possibilities to new dialogues with countries that we didn't have before.
But I think it also shows the need for good relationships when there is not a crisis. Because if we had these really strong relationships with other countries before, then it might have been easier to get their support now. So we can't just sit on our high horses when there is no crisis and just believe that everyone will admire us and see how nice and free and liberal we are. And then when there is a crisis situation, it turns out that they actually didn't, because we didn't speak to them at all before. So I think that we should see this also in a more longer perspective to see how can we build strategic relationships with other parts of the world. And not only for our own benefits of trade, but also for having good relationships with them in a future crisis situation, because we don't know where the world is heading. And if there will be a major conflict of some kind, military or other, trade related or whatever, we will need all the friends we can get. And there are other democracies in the world. It's not only Europe and the United States, and we can build relationships with those, and we can build relationships with other countries as well. So I think that Sweden has been reminded that we need our neighbors now when there is a crisis. But I think that the European Union needs to start building also more external relationships, and that's not been the European Union's strong side so far.
I think it's not only Sweden who has been reminded, and all the countries have been reminded of that one. And of course, we need to also know that the US elections are coming in 2 years. And if Trump comes back, we need to be prepared for that also, because that will also change the world quite a lot. So there are major questions on the table. That's why I said it's now extremely important especially for the private sector and for the political life and for the whole societies to climb up the stairs, have a big picture in their mind and look at their strategies and their processes and try to understand that you need to be prepared for many kind of scenarios. And that's what we do with companies at the moment. Many companies I have met have said that we don't need to have a look at our strategy. We have just updated last year. I said, wrong answer. And then when we go do some scenario studies with them, then they realized, hey, yes, we need to reconsider everything at the moment, because the world is changing so fast, and the changes are not going to be something for 1 or 2 years. They are going to be profound changes for decades to come. So that's why we need to be prepared. And that's why I see also that the NATO membership, in my thinking, is not only about military capability, it's also joining forces in political arena. NATO itself is very political animal itself. My first 3 years in Brussels, 94, 97, opened my eyes in many ways. And I went there as a young military officer thinking that this is a bunch of nukes and tanks, which are led by generals. When I realized in Brussels that NATO owns nothing. It has a couple of planes and a couple of drones, that's it. Everything is owned by the countries. Then I realized that the decisions are made on the political level, not on the military level. Military is executing the political decisions. And I always remember the Russian general who was appointed to shape to NATO's European headquarters to be the coordination headquarters for the Balkan operations. And he was taken around NATO headquarters to show him how it is. And he said at the meeting that if I had seen this, you were in the Cold War, I wouldn't have needed to keep my helmet on and be scared because this animal is not able to attack. Mm-hmm. But this knowledge has disappeared in Russia at the moment.
Probably like that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should take the last minutes, a few words about that. The three of us, we are part of a Miltton think tank called the New Context, and that's where you are in charge, Arto. And you mentioned a little bit about it, how we try to help our clients in drawing the map now from this new situation, and we bring our different expertises to that. But could you say a few words about the background of that initiative and some examples?
We have an institute called Nordic West Office inside Miltton, led by Risto E.J. Pentilä, who has been the only person having the crystal ball for a couple of years backwards. He knew when we are going to have a NATO debate starting in Finland, when do we need to discuss about our NATO membership. So it's part of Miltton, but that's not enough. It's a small team, and we are not going to be trying to be a competitor for major think tanks in the world. But what we have something like 400 experts around the world in Brussels, in US, in Baltic countries, in Sweden, in Finland. And my task is to draw the knowledge of these persons into one package, create the situation awareness inside the company first, that we can help our customers. Are they working in the brand or marketing or annual report issue or somewhere else in strategy, whatever they do with Miltton. That everything they do today in communication and marketing, there needs to be an understanding of the geopolitical situation and its consequences on our societies, our customers, our retail customers, and so on. So I'm trying to put this together and then support our people by this knowledge. And secondly, we are trying to help the companies when they are struggling with their strategy and trying to help them bring this kind of scenario package and then do the SWOT analysis, whatever they want to do in this one, and help them to rebuild their strategy in the right way. And I think it's very exciting work at the moment, because I can see that every private company in the private sector, and also the government and cities, I would say the cities especially, Stockholm and Helsinki, for example, do have a lot to learn in strategic thinking. And they need to understand that this kind of geopolitical situation will affect, especially Helsinki. Think about the tourism in Helsinki. Quite a change. It's not only about the Russians, but the cruisers who used to go to Russia and stop in Helsinki do not stop here anymore, because they don't go to Russia, so they go somewhere else in the Baltic Sea region. My minor thing. But there are not many other issues on the table, and that's something we do not try to do now. And it's a new process for us, and there's no standing organization there. It's like we two and we three, actually we are coming together and trying to educate each other to be better in this area. There are a lot of good think tanks in the world who are making excellent reports. That's not the issue for us. Our issue is to bring the knowledge into the hands of the business leaders or any other leaders.
Would you like to add something, Maria, to that?
Yeah, I think there are many different perspectives to this, and I'm working, of course, with a European perspective in this new context, and trying to analyze where the EU is heading on different issues and different areas, and how that will affect different types of businesses going forward. And one of the most interesting things right now is, I believe, where is the green transition going? And that affects a lot of companies in the Nordics, because we are still the front runners in that. We are the countries with the highest percentage of renewable energy, and we are doing really well in deploying all the new technology that arrives and so on. So we have an important role to play, but it's important to know where are the others going on this as well. So I think, that's super interesting.
I think there's one aspect here that most of the companies I have met are at the moment in if I use the military term, in defense mode, trying to prevent any kind of harm against them because of the situation. And I think they should move to attack mode, how to make business, how to be better in the future. And some companies, as we know, can utilize the situation also. And many of them can utilize it. And second thing, you mentioned the Brussels, of course, sanctions is one of the issues.
Yeah.
Maria is reporting us on sanctions, and we get the knowledge of sanctions and the possible next sanctions and their effects on us. And food crisis was something you brought in, and we have been trying to make that a one of our tool sets, because that will be a major issue in the future.
Then, of course, the whole situation, how will it affect politics?
Yeah.
Because if we get a situation with high inflation, high prices on energy and food, there will, and then we have Russia's, they will probably use this situation to try to influence the discussion and the debate in both in the European Union and in the United States, as they have done before. And where will they find the trigger points? I think that the populistic parties in Europe, they might have a lot to gain from a situation where people are super unhappy about the inflation and there maybe also a recession with unemployment and other kinds of difficulties. And there is, of course, a risk that there will be also political change in that aspect. We saw the French elections with Marine Le Pen doing really, really well, even though in the end she didn't win happily, I would say, in all aspects. But still, that was before the inflation really hit us. So what will happen next time? What will happen in the next country? Yeah. I think, what will happen in Sweden in September?
And I think
how will this affect us?
Absolutely, that is an important issue. And also, what I try to say to many of my clients in Sweden is that this new situation, we will have a shift in the political priorities. Much more money will be spent on police, prisons, defense. Those money will not just come out of nowhere. There has to be priorities, and that will also have a huge impact on the next parliament session after this election, and all the levels, regional, local as well, of course. That we will have a new situation where Sweden, during we'd say from the mid-90s, have step by step downsized the defense, and now we have to build it up again, and that will have an effect. So you will have a new situation for the politicians, where money they have had been able to spend on certain areas won't be available any longer. And I don't think that has really sunk into the political system yet, because now all are occupied with the current debate. Yeah. But there will be another time, and that will be very important for companies, branch organizations, NGOs, and so on, to understand that it's a new political landscape we are looking ahead when it comes to how the budget will look and what can be invested in or not.
And think about Finland in this case, because just 10 billion euros for the F-35 fleet, now 3 billion euros more for national defense. They are big numbers in our country, and I've always been surprised in Finland for one thing, because we are ready to invest to defense. Okay, we haven't been that ready during the past decades. It has been steady, but not that much. But are we ready to invest to our police, to our border guard, to our civilian society's preparedness? And that is something we should do now, because the risks and threats are not only on the military side, they are in this kind of a total defense package, which is really important to fix now. And we have seen the unrest in Sweden, we have seen unrest in other countries, and those are the tools even the Russians also know how to use and utilize. Yeah. It's easy to create unrest at the moment. And the food price, energy price, all these issues are coming on the table soon. And there are three conclusions from our scenarios. I would say one of them is that prepare for stagflation. So there will be inflation. Production is not going to go up, it's going to be down, and unemployment will increase. That is one of the issues. When you talk about Russia, let's prepare for North Korea 2.0 in a way. And the third one is now I forgot the third one already. It comes out soon. But I think these are the ones that we need to have a look at the moment, and that's going to be a challenge for our political leaders. But this kind of holistic view has to be there. Not take one sector at a time. Like, unfortunately, in Finland, I'm happy that Finnish defense gets money. I hope they can use the money because it's not easy to buy military equipment at the moment because everyone is running at the same time in the markets.
But as a politician, it's also very easy to just, something is high on the agenda. Yeah, let's throw some money at that.
Yeah.
And then we never get the sort of deeper discussion about the security situation in general, like the cybersecurity, for example, and all these sort of information war-related threats that we need to handle. And there are a lot of things that are not only solved by throwing money at the military. So defense is so much more than just building up our military and starting conscription again and let everyone join the army. I mean that's not the only thing we need.
It's a process for decades.
Yeah.
Maybe one thing, the third one that was you say stagflation, North Korea 2.0, and then divided world.
Yeah.
Those are the three issues I would like to underline here.
The time has come to 10 o'clock, and we have promised ourselves that this is the finish line. So thank you for being part of the discussion, and especially important for us to hear about the Finnish perspective and what's both in the coming days, but also how the thinking has been in Finland before and now when we look ahead on the security situation. So thank you for those perspectives, and thank you for all of you that have been here and you that has followed us online. Thank you.
Thank you.